Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar for TraceCase app walk through the app as a one-on-one. I'd like to say hello and welcome my colleague Andreas Schreckenberg, who is with me today. Andreas Schreckenberg is product manager, contactless test solutions. Hello, Andreas. Thank you for doing this together with you.
Hi, Swantje, and hello to all of you.
Yeah, so today we are going to walk you through the TraceCase app. That was one of the feedback we got from another webinar, and this is a brilliant idea. But before we go into details, I'd like to make you familiar with the techniques of GoToWebinar. So this is a webinar, you're automatically muted, but you can still ask your questions. So that is accessible if you click this orange arrow here on the control panel. This will enlarge the dialog, which is available for you as participant in the GoToWebinar. And in the webinar, you here have the drop-down menu. And in one of the drop-down options is the chat. And in the chat, you can enter a question or a comment or something you need and send this to staff. That means we will get the question from you. It's not public, so you can ask your question. You can mark it confidential so that we just answer you one-on-one via email after the webinar. Or if you don't say add anything, then we will take the question into the webinar, because that's usually very helpful for everyone to learn other people's questions and see another aspect. So the webinar takes a bit more than 35 minutes today, and I would like to encourage you to type in any question immediately. Don't get stuck by you're thinking of the issue or the part that you would like to inquire about. Just fire it away, and we will try to cover all questions throughout the webinar. If that's not possible, we will answer them via email and collect all questions and answers in the thank you email of the webinar. So nothing is lost, and we try to sort out everything, or then maybe continue on a one-on-one discussion with you. Okay, so I have seen that not everyone has registered with the company email. That will be very helpful for further exchange to add this. Okay, so you're happy to receive questions from you, and we will try to answer them, and we can answer directly or for everyone. Okay, so what are we going to do today? This has been the small introduction here. We have two big parts. We do the TraceCase app walkthrough with the two aspects. The first part will cover everything you can do without the hardware connected. So this is also for someone you would like to say try or check the app. This is to see what's possible without, or what you can check and do yourself without connecting the TraceCase, which you maybe have brought to someone else. And then we will do a small question and answer part here after that, and then we will move on to part 2, and we'll show everything connecting to the TraceCase and what you can do then. Tracing after that, a short Q&A part, and we have a small special at the end for you. So stay tuned, it's worth it. And therefore, I'd like to start right away with the first part here. I'm going to share a pre-captured video, a pre-recorded video. This will walk you through step by step through the every aspect you can see and do with the TraceCase app. That's the Android part, and without TraceCase connected. So I'm launching the video now. And I'll start the video. I'm muted then, and I'll stop my camera as well then.
Hello, my name is Swantje, and I'm going to walk you through the TraceCase app 2. With the latest version 6.3, we have some fantastic new features for you, and we will walk you completely through the app, including the new features. So what you can see here, I have my TraceCase installed here on TraceCase Fit. TraceCase app installed, and we go right to the TraceCase app. So anyone can download the app. It is free on the Google Play Store and the App Store. And I'm going to start with those features you can see with the TraceCase hardware not connected. So you can see in the upper left hand here, the TraceCase is not connected. And I will show you what you can do without having the hardware, which is already quite interesting, gives you a good glimpse into the features of it. First is part here is the information button on the right bottom. So what important to know that you check the version you have installed. Make sure it's the latest version. Go back to update function if it's not the case. Okay, and then this is the complete information here about the app. What you can also see here is the documentation tab here. I think it's very important if you have questions, if you're not sure, if you want to go into details, you have everything in here, the fact sheet, the viewer, the TraceCase viewer manual, and also the app manual, so you can read again what is in the app, the operating instructions of the hardware device of the TraceCase itself, or even online reference videos. I think that's very helpful. I wanted to show you this. Then also support. You can share log files here using your email if you have something. So this is built in direct access to the support team. That's very helpful, I guess. Okay, going back to basic information is maybe not so interesting. Then here in this app settings dialog, you have here a dialog about the field strengths and the scaling factor. Depending on the antenna, you can manage your Wi-Fi connection. This is here enable access point mode. We go to that if I connect to the TraceCase, then here you have the very new feature, live monitoring. I have enabled it here. You can enable or disable. I recommend to enable it because that's very helpful. We will see in short time. So keep it enabled. And then the geolocation feature, this is switched off as default setting. Sometimes it's very helpful because it gives you a concrete and exact position about where you have taken the trace, which is a good hint to what has happened there. But sometimes it's not so helpful because it takes data bandwidth and can cause connection issues under very certain conditions. So maybe switch it off as default part. That's about the app settings. Don't forget about the live monitoring. Okay, then what you can see here, the blue marked part here option is saved sessions. And if you open it, you can see that you have sessions installed here. I have a filter here. I'll reset the filter so you can see all the sessions I have taken here. I have available here. I've taken 2 small sessions here, but I would like to draw your attention to the TraceCase demo session. When you install the TraceCase app 2, it always comes with the TraceCase demo session. That way you can get a good idea of what a session taken gives you in this app here. So I'm going to open the session here, and then you can see some basic information about your recording time. You have the location here. If geolocation is switched on, you can, as far as it can, filter it down. Here we've made this here TraceCase demo user. There's no verdict in here. You can see the indication that also analog scope data is available. You might know that the TraceCase has a small digital storage oscilloscope. It records the envelope data for you. And in some situations, it's very helpful to do so because sometimes you might even have error handling so that the protocol looks fine, but you might even still have some issues on the physical or signaling level, or it's very helpful and gives you more information about errors which might occur. For contactless, there's a lot of dimensions in which you can communicate, so it's very, very helpful to have the analog scope for error detection and error analysis. Then I'd like to highlight this really because it's a very helpful feature if you take a session and if you save it, you get a quality indication. So what the app checks is if it contains complete or incomplete frames and successfully executed APDUs, or just half APDUs, maybe only the command. So that is very, very useful if you are if your objective is to have complete session. That means a good communication only, and then you can see if you want to skip this session for further analysis, if you delete it directly, or if you decide to take another capture to have the chance to get your better quality. So that's very, very useful. Save it, check it, okay, once again, for instance. Then you get your geo position, then the antenna type. This comes with a scaling factor. So just a small information about this, because it's the app, but it gives you the information. The antenna you can use, we have a choice of antennas, smaller, bigger, thinner, thicker, but every antenna has a scaling factor, and then this gives you a dimension into the analog scope data. So if you just have a look on the protocol exchange, not so important for you. It's maybe only important to say, would another antenna match the sensitivity settings better for better communication? That might be one factor, antenna size, but your scaling factor is for the analog scope measurements to have a dimension. Okay, gives you size about the file. So if you want to send it out to someone, how much data have you left on your subscription, or are you on Wi-Fi and allowed to send this away? And then the application TraceCase 2. And yeah, you also have a photo here, so you can add metadata on your trace. So if you edit this trace, you might even take another photo if you decide to change this. So you have to connect to the camera, could take a photo from a reader, for instance, or take this photo, or and say I want to retry, or say it's okay, or just leave this option. I would not want to save this here. So this is so much you can also add a comment to say I've checked it, or I don't know what other important information you have here, or add a verdict if you say this reading has been successful, this door has opened, this asset has been tracked, this tag has been read or been written. So you can add some information about what it has happened. That's if you take a lot of traces, it's very useful to have it. Then, and if you have a lot of traces, it's also very useful to be able to filter them. That was the setting before we took a look here. So you can say I want to have only traces with complete frames. Then it's the demo session trace here. You get the filter set activated here by this symbol. Or you can say any data that you see the symbol changes, or you can simply sort this by date or letter. That way you have the chance to faster look or scan through your the recordings taken. So it doesn't take a lot of time. So you pile up a lot of recordings. If you're out in the field doing field tracing, it's very helpful to orientate yourself where you are. So if you go into the session itself, you on the right hand side you see an icon like a list or a protocol notes taken. So this is where the view where you can see into the communication taken, how the app analyzes the communication captures. And this is here on the left hand side marked with the blue sign here. That is the frame level. You can click into a frame, and get frame details here. You get the timing for each frame when it occurred and about the frame delay time. These are standard measurements required by standardization bodies like Invico, for instance. And if you go in the middle, you see middle icon, that is the APDU, Application Programming Data Units view. So you see only here the commands and response paths exchanged. Here, important to know that the P here stands for poller. That's the NFC forum term, poller or reader, the part emitting information or controlling it. And then the L here is the part for the listener or pick or card. That is the listener is the NFC forum term. So that's the direction of the communication. If you click on that, you get the details on this command. It was exchanged successfully with status word here 9000. You have the timings, you have the reader communication timings, card processing time, card communication time. So how much time takes it to send the response and how much time takes it to process the response after the command has been received from the card. So, then you get the information exchanged is parsed as far as possible, as far as publicly available information is here. And then there's a new feature, which you might have which the command here has prepared you maybe for, because you got some timings here. This is the percentage icon here. That is a new feature. It's the Invico tariff times. Invico has a standard where they say how much time does the transaction take. There's maximum 500 milliseconds, and there's also maximum for the terminals, how much time they have. And here you can control about which part has consumed which time of the allowed budget of 500 milliseconds. And the standard requires to have the total reader communication and processing times and also the site on the card. So that's a quick view into the information you immediately get when you have taken a capture. So this is quite a bunch of information. You can get some clues, you can draw conclusions from that. And we try to make this as helpful as possible because we have a good and detailed and accurate device here, taking accurate captures, make the most of it. Okay, and then you see here the next from the right-hand side, the next symbol is like a PDF symbol. If you click on that, it prepares exporting a PDF file. If you have someone you want to send information or store this information also in another format, that's helpful. I think I try to go back here. So it processes a bit the time to prepare the PDF, to package this PDF, and then you can either save it on a file share here on your internal files here. I would put this into the internal storage. And there is also a TraceCase folder here, and I can put it here, for instance. And then later on use the standard ways to get data out of your smartphone. You can do same with a CSV file or with an XML file, but if we click, I show you, you can see no license found. Here's a license check in there. The XML file sharing is part of the toolbox, and that has a separate license. The XML file format gives you the advantage to process automatically automate further analysis of the data taken. Very useful. Then this is also, you can put this into the trash bin. I wouldn't do it, but we have covered you because you can download the TraceCase demo session from our website. So if you delete, not so difficult, but not very comfy. And then you have the sharing symbol here to share it with someone else. Yeah, usually you would try to email this to someone else. I would send it I would send it to this. I can send it to Comprion and also send it to my Gmail account. Then structure. So you can share this with someone else, and this person gets the TRS, or if you take the PDF file, you share the PDF file. And that's very useful because then someone else can take a look into it immediately. So if you have doubts yourself, if you have someone, if you are in the field and say, please take a look immediately into this because that's a very interesting trace here, some error happened or this went smoothly, I don't know what the problem is, can you take a look maybe at the analog file, are there any hiccups? That is the way you can use this. Or you can ask a partner, send them a trace case, please trace it, and then send the traces to me, the data. I'll take a look into the analysis and can tell you if this is okay or not. So quick check is very simple. Okay, so that is, I think, what you really can do with the saved sessions here if you are not connected to the hardware.
So I'm going to stop here now because that's the part we can do so far with the without the trace case connected. I stopped sharing the video, and now it's we have prepared a small poll for you, which because we are curious, we want to find out who's using the app, yes or no. So launch this poll very quickly. Are you using the TraceCase app, yes or no, right now? But I assume, yeah, let's take a bit of time for answering this. But this is very quickly done. And it's an interesting result. So the 100% responses, we are not using it, and then it will be interesting to find out why. Yeah, very, very interesting options here, feedback here, a good discussion, part of discussion here. And then you're not using the app means there are options, and I think we are going to work with these options in the second part or in the second Q&A part, because that also transits us or moves us directly to the special we have prepared for you. Yes, so I'll suggest that we move on with the presentation here now, because we don't have further questions. A very specific question here is, there is one feedback to the way the naming, Andreas, maybe you can comment on that, the naming we store the files. So the question is, it's great that we have that the saved session default file name is a date time seconds, but it has it has two sets of DTS, which is very confusing, especially when importing them to the TraceCase viewer. And I was checking because in the app you just have the date and the time, but it's true when you transfer it, there's two times this information concatenated. And yeah, maybe Andreas, you can comment on this. Is there any technical reason doing this?
I mean, you can change the file name, of course. Yeah, so it's standard file. You can take the file browser and change the name. That's always possible. Basically, this is a container. It's a zip container, and the name is whatever you choose for it. From the app, you can also choose another name, I think, over the edit function. Yeah, but maybe we can improve this. Yeah, I will take some notes and we take this with us.
Yeah. To be honest, if you're I think if you're in the field, you want to really pile up traces and get data. Then you don't care. You just save and move on to the next. You don't take a break to say, oh, I retype my name, and then you might quickly add a photograph. That is faster, I guess, than retyping the name. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think. Okay. Yeah. Good one. I think to look into that. And then there's another comment in the older version. It has not been doubled. Okay. Yeah. Let's check that. Thank you. It's great that you that you draw our attention to that. That's really excellent feedback. Okie dokie. So I think we are prepared to connect with the trace case and see the second part here of the recordings. So this part will then be done on iOS, and it starts at the middle of the recording. Just a small hint: after the webinar, we are going to share 3 videos. First, we do the replay. Secondly, you get the complete walkthrough on Android, and then thirdly, the complete walkthrough on iOS. So stay tuned. Okie doke. Let's look into this. I start the video and then I'm automatically muted.
So go to your Wi-Fi settings and scan for this trace case, and then you connect. You make your life easier if you, in the settings, you say you want to reconnect. If it's auto reconnect, if it's available, then it's simpler. Yeah, this is up to you how you handle your Wi-Fi settings with your device. So on the left side, above side, you can see that the trace case is connected and ready. On the right hand side, you see that the battery, it's charging, it's connected, and it's quite okay, it's quite full. And then here in the settings button, you see access point enabled. You can also put the trace case into an existing Wi-Fi network if you are not allowed to set up your own in your environment. That can happen, but here we take the trace case in the default setting here. That's simpler, or that's the default use. Okay, so what you can do now, what you should do before it's wise to do best practice before taking a trace. 2 parts. The first part is the trace configuration. If you open that dialog, you find the so-called decoders. That means what is translated. And you have here A, B, and F, the NFC forum types. And then there is also the decoder V, that is vicinity. That is the latest NFC forum and a type, opening the world to the RFID, to the mainly logistics applications. You can use that way your smartphone as RFID reader, but with the proximity portion of the signaling. But it's the same frequency, so you can detect the communication also for vicinity. And now it is with the new app, it's also translated within the app, not only within the TraceCase UI. So that's new with the latest app. I'll go back to A and B, which is for the typical for payment environments. That was the configuration here. You also have in the dialog the analog scope. So I highlighted that or emphasized that the demo session has an analog scope trace. You get the envelope data, and here you can configure how you capture these data. And there's a default setting which is usually really useful and practical. Sample depth 8K samples. You can go down or up. And that's about the memory space taken then. And then the sample rate is also impacting the memory, the storage capacity, so the memory taken. And you can go from 1/FC to 12/FC, but recommended maximum is 4/FC. 1/FC is you take a measurement on every oscillation. And that's recommended if you want to take a look into the physical analysis, into the signal analysis. If you go up to 4/FC, it's already quite rough information. So recommendation is 1/FC. And then below that sample rate, you have a trigger. The trigger is defining as to when the analog scope recording will start. Here we have the manual trigger. That's an advanced setting. And for another session or another how-to, You have some preset triggers, for instance, carrier on, if there's any reader communicating, or you have carrier modulated or sub-carrier on when you want to make sure I have my analog scope started when a card or a listener is going to answer something, then when real communication is taking place. That depends on what you're looking at. Set the trigger according to what is your interest, or set a very generic trigger to say maybe PCD active, to say anything is active on the reader side, then I'm happy and I want to take this and want to start from there. That's also possible. Okay, then after that, you also define the trigger precision, either 50% before and 50% after firing the trigger, or then the other situations where you want more after or more before. That depends on the trigger and maybe on the error you have some idea about already. Then you save these settings. So TraceCase configuration, take a look at that. For instance, if you want to take communication V but have forgotten to activate this, you don't see this in the app evaluation, or the other parts as well. If you want to take A but forgotten to activate, then you don't see the translation in the app. Before you do a trace, it is very interesting to see where the communication hotspot or where the sweet spot is, where the best position is to capture a trace. If you have the chance to. If you do undercover tracing, that's usually not possible, but if you have the chance to do so, that's very helpful. And it's also very helpful in the laboratory if you want to find out if card is answering it all, or if a reader is emitting any field at all, if it's active, therefore we have built in the feature measure field strength. So I take here my antenna, the small one, and you can see that the reader is active, and you can also see if you go far away, the signal is vanishing. If I near, the signal strength is increasing, and if I go too far away, it's going to zero again. And then also, if you want to make sure or want to check whether the listener or the card is responding, you can near with the card and the antenna, and you see subcarrier signal strength is indicated. That means there's also a response from the card. And you can also see that if you go nearer, it's going to be better. And if you go far away, there's no, it's going to zero again. Okay, that's very helpful if you are able to access the terminal on the card that way. Okay, then. But yeah, and if you want to find the optimal position, that is your tool to work with. Okay, so we've done the configuration, we've done the measure field strength, and then you can say, I want to start tracing. If you do so, you have now various if you start tracing, you have various options. In the beginning, I said the app settings is live monitoring, and I want to show you what this means. Have to trace this, sorry. So live monitoring, that way you can see immediately if communication is going on. And you can see live in almost real time what the communication is doing. That's very helpful to check whether you can see the part of the communication you're interested in, or at all what is important for you. So you have here the symbol with the running person, that is the live monitoring. If you want to see if the trace case is working at all, you can choose the other symbol, like the piece of paper or notes written. And so in this here in the middle, this button, this goes back to helps you to go to the end of the communication. So to see what is the latest communication displayed here or available if it goes to the end of the display. Okay, so I think that's then you can say stop tracing, and this way it downloads the session. The trace case itself does not store the data, it just saves them for downloading them via the small Wi-Fi setup to your smartphone, which has a lot more capacity to store this. So here in the storage, after downloading, you can add your data, the location, the user, for instance. You can add some comment. You can also add a verdict saying this is passed because the communication has taken place. I got a beep, that went fine. We haven't set anything for analog scope, that's not available. Geopositioning I have not activated. And as already pointed out, we can take a photo here and say that's the session we had taken, or that's I want to add the type of card here. So you can add the photo to the session. You can add several photos to say I populate this with further information. If I have many traces, this helps me to identify which card I used, which terminal I used, or any detail about the settings to better evaluate or identify the communication partners. Okay, I've saved this. Go back to saved sessions. Now we have make sure you get the latest session on top. Okay, if this is not many sessions, but if you have many, this is helpful. And then you can take a look again at it. Okay, here you have the size, which is interesting if you want to share information. You can edit this again and add further comments for the webinar, for instance. And then you're ready to go. Okay, and if you have several sessions and you want to select maybe 2 or 3 of them to share them with someone else, you can mark the ones you want to share, and then you can share with them, for instance, send them via email to someone else. So again, when someone has the TraceCase app installed on the smartphone or the tablet, then they can see and do the same analysis than you can do with your setup here. So that is for quick sharing. Send this to someone to say, can you comment this? Can you take a look? Can you take a look at this or that part of the communication? That is very helpful. Or also the other way around, send the TraceCase to someone else and who is in the field, who has an issue. Please make it capture and send this to me, and then have the same level of information immediately on the smartphone with any PC added here or opened. Okay, then also very nice feature is the here on the left bottom you can see like a switch, like a power button, and you can switch off the TraceCase. And I take my switch off TraceCase is the soft button. The TraceCase switch off is takes a bit patience, because you have to press the button a bit longer until it starts to beep very quickly, and then it's switching off. And here you have that was a feature request. You have the chance to switch it off via soft button, and that's very useful, I think. And you see as result here on the top left hand side, no TraceCase connected. So connection lost because it's switched off. Okay, and then there's also one part which is very nice to see. It's not only about exporting your TraceCase, but it's also about seeing data you have received. Okay, so you can also import the session. If the email account and the TraceCase app are on the same level, on the same container on your smartphone, then you can directly open it with the app, because it identifies the format and gives you already available app, and you can see it under saved session. So here I saved, I imported the demo session again. It's marked demo session 2, and you can see everything here. It's you can have the same information as with the demo session pre-installed, which you can see here right now. So I think that's very useful. It's not only exporting and sharing, but also importing. And when you're on the receiving side, this is really a quick, smooth, and direct look into your NFC captures. So I think I'm done with the most parts here. We went there here. Good. So this is about the TraceCase app. Happy to receive further questions or feedback to the app, and yeah, happy testing, happy capturing. Thank you.
Okay, so much for the iOS app and all the options you have with working the TraceCase in connected way. So we have another Q&A part here, very small one. So I'd like to ask a question about new features. So we're maybe just the final or another remark for the naming. There are 2 time sets in there. The first time set is the sharing date, and the second time set is the capture date. So that then we would have to take a trade of how to handle this. But yeah, thank you for the feedback. And this always triggers rethinking and eval and sharing further information. That's excellent. Best thing that can happen. Okay, and so for the second question we have to you, we'd like to find out about your feature preferences. I'd launch the poll now, and I would like to ask Andreas for support, please. Short keywords here, but maybe you can bit explain the 3 features we are asking for, what you would prioritize. So maybe Andreas, would you please explain these 3 features a bit?
Yeah, thank you, Spantje. So the first new feature that we have on our roadmap is a time synchronization. We call it time synchronization. So basically, we want to sync the NFC log with the time on the smartphone, or in case you use the PC, another host with the toolbox, it's then also synchronized with the PC. So we will implement here a mechanism to synchronize the time. Yeah. We already have the synchronization with the analog data. There's an application note available from Comprion how to do this, but this would be an additional valuable feature. I think the use cases could be even payment. For example, the softpost could be a use case for this, because we running with our app on the same device as the device under test is, and here I see some advantages with this mechanism. Another feature that we have on the roadmap is we call it soft trigger or a software trigger. You know, the TraceCase doesn't provide any hardware trigger. That's also not intended, because we want to use the TraceCase in the field. If you need a hardware trigger, then there we have Comprion has other devices or to do this. Anyway, it's not possible to connect a hardware trigger with a phone, for example. That's not possible. So a software trigger enables us to trigger on a dedicated byte pattern, for example. So you will be able to enter a byte pattern, and then it automatically stops with the capturing if this byte pattern is somewhere detected. Yeah. The last feature is a basic search function. That was also a customer request that we have on the roadmap, so that you can easily navigate in the traces and find a byte pattern from the app. Yeah, I mean, you can use the search functionality in the TraceCase viewer anyway, but this might be useful for someone who is in the field and want to search certain information quickly. Okay, yeah, thank you. This is some explanation about the features we want you to prioritize.
Cool, Andreas. Thank you very much for the explanation. So the majority of participants has answered, and I think one is undecided or not very, it's not so important. I think I close the poll now so we can see the result, which I'm going to share now. So we have here part it's a bit the same level. Soft trigger and time synchronization are very interesting, obviously, for today's audience. Thank you very much for giving your feedback and giving the answers. It's extremely helpful for us to get this kind of feedback. Okay, then I'll hide the poll result. I draw your attention here to the questions. So I added the information, the additional information upon the date and time, about the naming, 2 times date and time. Okay, capturing time plus sharing time or downloading time. But thanks for highlighting this. And Andreas, then there's a very often question about I've shared about how to share the data, download it and share it via email or file transfer, but I left this a bit fuzzy. So would you please explain which further options one has to share data?
I think we really have now a lot of options. So beside the app, you can of course use the toolbox for the command line tools to download the trace file from a PC. Another option would be the special that we will explain at the end, the web interface. So then you don't need an app at all. So a very, very, very new and cool feature, I think. And last but not least, let's also say that you can, of course, use a USB cable. You can share with your file manager on your phone, and then you can use a USB cable, copy the files for Android, for example, in the downloads folder, and then you can easily share this with a file explorer on your PC.
Yeah,
it's quite convenient. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to allow sharing files if you connect via USB, not just charging.
So there's
if you have a USB interface.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. Okay. Then, you were hinting about the special, and for the special, I have prepared a special. I have prepared a very small screen recording. So, all in all, the special is about what do I do? Thank you, guys. I don't have the app. So today we had feedback. I don't use the app. So what else can I do without the app? And there's a very smart way to do that. That's the web interface. The web interface allows you to do almost everything the app can do, except for the PDF production or file sharing. But I will show. It's not about talking here. It's about showing. Okay. This is just a screen recording. I'll comment on that in between. Takes a moment to launch it, and here the screen recording, and I'll start with connecting the TraceCase to my Wi-Fi. So I need a Wi-Fi connection. Maybe you want to add a Wi-Fi dongle or for adding a second Wi-Fi. So that's the part here. And then I connect to the TraceCase via I just type in the address, and here you get the same or similar menu, similar options like in the app. And first I show the field strength feature. So I launched this feature, and you can see a carrier talking. This is the blue bar. And then I add also a card. I do card attack rating, and in the second blue bar is the card response, and the green bar is the frequency. Okay, then I show you the live monitor that is also available in the API in the web interface. Here you see the live monitoring, the data moving through the interface, being captured all the time. And then what you can also do here is save a CSV. So you get a CSV file. I had just done this. It's in the left bottom. You can see that, the download. Then I stop tracing and then move on to the trace data. And that is about file sharing then, or seeing all the files. I saved the file as TRS, that's the trace case. Or you can also save the raw data, and then you can see in the end there is 3 options, CSV, TRS, and raw. And then I just launched the CSV file to give you a glimpse or an idea of what you get for this. So the CSV file you can use for further automation, further automated evaluation, for instance. And that's then so much about the web interface. So I think it's quite a powerful interface. So okay, you don't have the PDF file, and you get the frame layer information, but this is a direct access. If you just say, I want to use the trace case on the desk. I don't want to leave. I don't want to add another device. I don't want to work with a tablet or a smartphone, and just connect directly via PC to the trace case using the small Wi-Fi. So that is
maybe, Antje, just to add, you also get the documentation of the API of the web interface. You simply go to documentation in the app, and then there's we open the complete API for the customer, so you can use Python, whatever you like, to control the trace case from your application.
Yeah. So I think that's here. So what? Yeah. Another option, another way to use it. Think about it. Happy to get your feedback about this. That would be great. So that is one way to further way to use it. And then there's also the question. So we have shown, we have been talking about features, new features, what we are mulling about in the next version of the app. It would be interesting, Andreas, to on a more global perspective, what is next for not only TraceCase but for NFC.
Okay, yeah. Typically we launch the app, let's say, at least once per year or half a year. The same for the TraceCase viewer. So the TraceCase viewer will be updated. End of this month, you can expect a new release, the 2.1 release. With the app, we worked on the CR13. That is NFC Forum and some extensions for the car connectivity consortium. We already integrated a basic translator with the app. So this will also now released for the TraceCase viewer software. The next hot topic in NFC Forum is the wireless charging, the NFC Forum wireless charging up to 1 watt. So also here, Comprion provides test tools to test this functionality, and this is then also available with the TraceCase viewer and the TraceCase. You can sniff the NDEF data of the communication between your charge device, your stylus, or whatever you want to charge and control if it's properly charged. So this is comes next. Yeah.
They're cool. Your NDEF messages for NFC Forum wireless charging.
Right.
Oh, so this is the next keyword. Hope make your next webinar on that, or a how-to on that, Andreas, with you. I think it's brilliant outlook, interesting topic, how to use it with small appliances. This is, I check again the questions, but I think this is so much about the questions and the webinar today, what we had prepared for you today. I would like to thank everyone. Thank you, Andreas, for presenting this together, and thank you, dear audience, dear participants, for joining us, for your interest and sacrificing your time and asking the questions. That's really excellent and really brilliant to get direct feedback. And here, this is the one way to exchange directly. So, thank you very much. Wishing you a great day. Take care and goodbye.
Take care. Goodbye.